Hi, I'm Leonie West from Westerly Design, and I'm going to show you how we use our Spin and Echo #1 tool. Spin and Echo tools are designed to create a pattern which goes around in a circle, and you can make them from a 4-inch round up to a 12-inch round at half-inch increments. So it is a spinning design that echoes at half-inch increments. On the template we have centre marked on a line running through the centre of the tool. Then we have holes, and these holes will locate to our pin system. To start, I have marked the quilt block with 16 crosshair reference lines, and we're going to use these reference lines to locate our centre line and know where we're going to start sewing and stopping with each of our spin and echo rotations. I have placed a pin in the centre of the block, and I'm going to start sewing with the number 5 position. So I'm placing my tool with my centre line running through the centre of the crosshair. My foot is touching the edge of the template, and my foot needle is lined up with my reference line. We're going to sew from one reference line to the next reference line. So we're using the template to move our fabric around. We're going to stop on the reference line, turn the template, and we're again going to line up our centre reference line on the tool with the reference line on the quilt. We're now going to sew around, miss the middle reference line, and stop on the next reference line. So we're sewing to every second reference line. Turn the template again, line the centre up, and we work our way around the block. Each time we get to the second line, starting, miss one, stop. We will stop with our foot needle touching the line, turn the template. Spin and echo is as easy as that to sew. The interesting thing about spin and echo is that when we start playing and doing different things with it, we can create amazing patterns. With this one, I'm going to sew in the ends of the threads when I finish this rotation, and that way you won't be able to tell where I stopped and started. So I'm stopping exactly where I began, moving the template away. I'm now going to bring up the threads. I'm using a Brother Dream Creator, which is a high shank machine. I'm using our high shank template. Because our high shank template is lower than a standard long arm template, I can see where my needle enters the fabric over the top of the template, making it much easier for me to align when I'm doing a pattern such as this. For the next rotation, I have moved my template so that the pin is located at the 6 point, and that will give us a half-inch space between our spin and echoes. And I'm just going to work around doing this one. I can see where my line is coming up very easily. The template is not getting in the vision of that needle, so now I'm stopping on the line, rotating the template, and I'll just continue around doing this. The thread I am using at the moment is a Superior Metallic. I'm running it using a 12 needle, it's Superior's needle, and I have lowered my tension just a small amount. I've taken it from 4 to 3.6, and that makes it possible to run this metallic without having shredding or problems like that. The other thing I have done, I'm just going to move these threads out of the way, is I'm running my thread from a high thread stand. So the thread has quite a distance to travel before it gets to the needle. Therefore, any of the problems that the thread may have as it unspools disappear before they get to the needle. So I'm sewing with a metallic with no problems at all. But wherever I am sewing, I can see where my needle is entering the fabric. Whether the template is in front or behind the needle, I can still have the visibility to make sure that when I come into this last stitch, I'm going to be stopping at the line and I'm at the last stitch. I'll just move the template away, and that's the first 2 rows of our spin and echo. I've been sewing the threads in as I go, and I've just completed the 11th rotation. I've got 1 more to go. I'm just going to show you how I sew the threads in. This is a metallic thread, and one thing I discovered was when I was putting it through a self-threading needle and going down like that, my thread was shredding. I have since found another self-threading needle which comes from Jane at Be Bold, and this needle doesn't shred the metallic. So I've tied my little knot in here. I'm just going to bring it through, go under the top layer, through the batting. When this pulls through, it makes a popping noise and the thread can come out the other side, and we'll just cut those tails off. So now I'm going to put my template in at number 12, so the pin is going through the hole at number 12, and I'm going to bring my threads up, locating my center line again through the center, bringing my threads up with my ruler foot touching the template, my needle going through the marked reference line, starting hanging on to the tails, making sure we're all aligned, and away we go. So remember that when we're making a repetitive pattern, working from the inside of a block to the outside of a block, we must always work inside rotations to outside rotations. Otherwise we'll wind up with a Mexican hat effect. We'll have a lovely lump in the middle because it's all being drawn into the center, because we're working around in a circular motion. Even though these are not circles, we're still going around in that circular motion. And we're stopping at the line again, lining up our center line. Template touches the edge of the foot, and we're coming back to the end. If you're worried about this little scribble stitching on the end, that is just me doing a tension test before I started. I'm just going to go 1 more stitch there. Stopping on our line, lining up the center, coming round, and we only have 1 more rotation to do after this one. So it's using a metallic on a domestic machine, remembering that I did change the tension. I also have my thread running from a high stand at the back of the machine, and I am using a number 12 superior needle. So we're back at the start, and that is our spin and echo number 1. This is our finished spin and echo number 1. And I'm now going to sew another version of the spin and echo using the same template. I'm going to show you another version of our spin and echo using the number 1 template again. I have marked my 16 crosshair reference lines in. I'm going to start at the 4 point. So the pin is located at number 4, and this time I'm using a Glide Affinity variegated thread. So we're going to sew around as we normally would with a spin and echo. and we're going to alternate the rotations when we do this one. So I'm going to sew all the way around, line to line, rotating that center line. When I get back to the end, I'm going to stop, bring up my threads, sew the threads in, and then the next one I'm going to start on the middle line instead of starting on the edge lines. They're going to sit off centered to each other, and this creates lovely patterns. With variations of the spin effects, the effect of doing it this way does vary. So we're just going to go to the next line, and then when I get to the last one, I'm going to bring my threads up and I will sew those in again. For the next rotation, I'm going to keep the pin located at 4, and this time the line that I started sewing on is going to become my reference line, and the reference line from before is going to be my starting point. And all we're going to do is do exactly the same as we did before. We're going to sew alternate lines, stop on the line, turn the template, sew to the next line, and our pattern is going to cross over itself. When we're working right in the center, it's going to be quite tight, but as we move out and do the next sizes, you will see that this pattern gets larger and it's not as tight as what this first one is. Just lining up, rotating the template. Very easy. Each time I line up, I'm checking my reference line to center, and I'm just stopping on the alternate reference lines. And we only have one left to go. So we've created a very dainty little pattern in the middle, and I'm now going to tie those threads off and sew another one. I'm going to sew the next rotation now. I've again brought my threads up and I've got the pin located at number 5, and I'm going to do a full rotation with it at number 5, then remaining at number 5 for the next rotation. I'm going to do the alternates like I did before. Lining up the center, foot touches the template. When I turn it, touches the foot. And we are just working our way around. As you can see, it really does not take long to work your way around one of these spin and echo templates. And we're back at the starting point. We'll sew those threads in again. So I've sewn in the thread ends and I have the pin still located at number 5 in our spin and echo, and I'm going to sew the next rotation. With each size we increase, our overlaps increase, and our pattern becomes more defined. You can work this all the way out to the edge of a 12-inch block, but there is no reason why you can't stop before you get to 12 inches, so you can put it in a 6-inch block. This would look very cute in a little 4-inch block. It's just making your templates more versatile, being able to do different things with them. And that's number 5 complete. So I'm going to finish sewing this and show you what it looks like when it's complete. This is the last rotation, which is the number 11 on the pin, and I'm just going to complete this one and then we will have finished this block. This is just one more way of using the spin and echo, and as you can see, this number of repeats being spaced at a ½ an inch apart does give quite a busy quilting pattern, but it is very effective. The pattern crosses over itself. The further out we go, it comes in and crosses over more than the first one did. In the first one, it only crossed over itself. The next one crossed over itself, same with as it went, and then we touched at the points, and then the next ones were crossing over inside. So as we come out with it, our pattern creates its own, our template creates its own designs. This would be an extremely difficult pattern to stitch without a template, and the fact that we have our single pin location system in this template, we can actually move our starting point and give us different sizes. And because we're always located into the center, we can just keep going round using this template to give us many effects. So that is our last rotation, and that's using spin and echo number 1. And that is our second version of spin and echo number 1.